safe. Yeah, I hear it, but the little voice over here that I'm hearing off the media. Let's play the media. Let's see where this fear is coming from. Let's go give it. Let's give it to them.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
The new cases in COVID are because of unvaccinated folks. Almost 100% of the new hospitalizations are with unvaccinated folks. And the deaths are certainly occurring with unvaccinated folks. These folks are choosing a horrible lifestyle of self-inflicted pain.
Besides, this emotional plea you just gave us, what is it going to take to get people to get shots in arms?
I don't know. You tell me. Folks supposed to have common sense.
There's common sense.
It is.
But it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
But as a leader of the state, don't you think it's your responsibility to try and help get this situation under control?
I've done all I know how to do. I can encourage you to do something, but I can't make you take care of yourself.
All right.
Now all of a sudden, you're concerned about the people that aren't vaccinated.
Right.
Exactly.
If unvaccinated people have made a decision and you're vaccinated, you covered.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden you're trying to act like you have all this concern for people who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The unvaccinated, they're killing themselves.
Yeah.
They're just going out here and they're killing themselves and they spreading all this, whatever. It's time for us to start blaming them. So now you're trying to use fear. Right?
Yep.
You're trying to use fear. You want the unvaccinated to be afraid that they're going to die. So there's your fear, right? And then, you know what I mean? You're going to use, well, guess what? Everybody's going to be mad at y'all and it's y'all's fault. And now you're going to make, the peer pressure, to make somebody be fearful. I don't want everybody to think that I'm selfish and I don't care about humanity. I'm just a bad person. So it's fear. It's fear.
Training day, baby.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to our next fear from the media.
In terms of the mandatory vaccines, Jeff, I don't know any Jeffs. Greg, to say that the demonization of the unvaccinated, it's not appropriate. You have to understand that if you're unvaccinated, then you should at least get tested every week on your own, or understand why you are banned from the VA, why you are banned from restaurants, why you are banned from other businesses and colleges increasingly, and they should be, because it's selfish. If you're unvaccinated and you're going around without being tested, you are an arrogant, selfish SOB.
You have proof of that? Do you have proof? You were asking for proof from Jesse. What's your proof that people are wandering around willy-nilly spreading the disease? You sound like you don't have any evidence.
No evidence that unvaccinated people, I have it here. You want evidence? 99% of the people sick in the hospitals in Los Angeles County of COVID were unvaccinated. How's that for proof?
No, you know what else is proof? What if people are immunocompromised and can't get the vaccine? Have you thought about that?
They are, and I cop to that. A tiny fraction of 1%.
More than that.
But
what I'm saying is, you see how he just throw out, and that's why it was good. I'm glad that the dude said what he said. He's like, prove it.
Yeah, but think about it. That was controlled debate.
Yeah,
that was controlled debate. He said that
you just throwing out random. How do you know they was unvaccinated? We just saw what's his name, Thron Thurman. What's his name? What's the dude's name we were talking about the other day?
The Lindsey Graham, Lindsey
Graham, fully vaccinated.
Tested positive.
So you can't just talk about, well, all these people in here, they're unvaccinated.
Yeah.
Prove it.
And 99% of them, 99%, you know what I mean? What's your source population? You could be making up statistics, man. You know what I mean? If you got, what you talking about, 99 out of 100? I mean, how many people went there and how many people died? And all this type of stuff. But then you see, so that once again, you bringing up the fear that unvaccinated people is going to die because they're in Los Angeles County Hospital dying. And you're putting another fear on people. You will not be able to go to a sporting event. You will not be able to go out into a restaurant. You will not be able to go into certain places. So now they're putting that fear on you that well, if I don't do what they say, then I'm not going to be able to.
Yep.
There you go. So you see, and it's just fear.
Yeah, just like we saw with the passport. All it is fear. Okay, I'm not going to be able to fly. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to do that. And even with the NFL, they did their best to try. And I told you, I saw a couple of days after they came out with the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, that they had wristbands that they proposed that the teams get. Okay, if this ain't the scarlet letter, I don't know what it is. Okay, you guys that aren't vaccinated, you got to wear the blue wristband. And it's like,
and that's to create the division.
Yeah,
to create the division. Right.
And
we're going to identify you that you don't want it. You're not complying.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Now, hold up, but then the whole time they tell you, if you have the COVID, then you quarantine yourself, you stay away, and then what do you do after that? You don't have any symptoms. You're asymptomatic. You're not sick. They test you positive, and you go on quarantine. And then what happens next?
Yeah, you get to go back out.
Yeah, you right.
And what happens next? You mean? So, and then hold up. Then you go get the vaccine, right? You get both shots. You're fully vaccinated. You go out. You go and you still get COVID-19.
Yeah.
Then you quarantine, right? Then you go back, and then what? You go back into society. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, isn't that the narrative?
Your quarantine is shorter because you've been vaccinated.
Right, 10 days versus 14.
Yeah.
But you still can get sick.
Yeah.
So, but remember, I think the last I checked, I know all of us have been vaccinated at some point because we all been through the school system, with your mumps, your measles, your tetanus shots and all that, right? So, like say tetanus, you get a tetanus shot, you cut your hand, you're no longer at risk of getting tetanus because you had the shot, right? You're vaccinated. Smallpox, chickenpox, measles, right? So if you've been vaccinated, that means that you won't get that particular virus.
Common sense. That's common sense.
So we're using common sense. We're not going into statistics. We're going through history. You know what I mean? We're going through, okay, we've all been vaccinated. I haven't had the measles, haven't had the mumps, haven't had any of these things that, in order to say I go to school. But now you're telling me that if I can get vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccination, I can get vaccinated, get both doses, and still walk outside and can get
and catch it.
And still catch it and be sick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the point? So where's the logic?
Exactly.
There is
exactly.
Where's the logic?
There is none.
Don't make no sense.
There is none. So let's go to our next clip. Let's go to our next clip.
This is an invasion of my privacy when you are sick in the same building as I am in. So I am against that. I am totally against you coming anywhere near me without a vaccine, and I would like you to prove it. I mean, if you're so scared or so intent, or you're some Republican male who wants to screw around with the libs or something, then don't come on the cruise with me, okay? Leave the buffet all to me and get a rowboat, and I'll meet you there sometime, but don't even go there with me. It's a public safety issue. It's not a political issue, so get over it.
I think we're just headed more and more towards a completely divided nation where we will have red states and blue states with entirely different comfort levels and laws. And we are heading more and more towards the most divided America of our time. And this is just another example of that.
All these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway.
Dozens of startups, as well as major companies like Microsoft, Ticketmaster, Apple, and Google, have shown interest or are currently working on creating their version of an immunization certificate for COVID-19.
There are going to be communities and areas of the country where it starts to make sense due to high availability of vaccine to say, you want to come back to work in person, got to show me a vaccine certificate. You want to go in a bar a restaurant, got to show me a vaccine certificate. With a COVID certification, you're going to gain freedom, you're going to gain mobility, and I'm going to suggest that you're probably going to be able to get certain jobs. If you want to work on a cruise ship, I can't imagine that they're not going to be advertising that everybody who's on the staff and the crew is vaccinated, so come on back.
Questions about whether you may need a so-called vaccine passport for things like international travel, going to concerts or sporting events. The White House says it'll leave that to the private sector. U.S. airline executives do not support a vaccine passport for domestic flying.
There is no federal vaccination database. No one's keeping track on whether you personally have been vaccinated. When you get your vaccination, you get a card like this, almost like a library card with some ballpoint pen writing on it. In my case, it's easily forgeable. So the question is, will that be enough to prove that you've been vaccinated to fly internationally or even to go to some of these concerts or stadium events? Or do you need something more sophisticated on a digital platform? And that's what so many companies and states, countries and airlines are now working on.
But you see with the Joy, you see the first thing what she said? She said, if you are sick, wait a minute, you're assuming that people are sick.
Yeah,
you see, you throwing that fear out here where I'm afraid that you're sick. So what? Yeah. I can be afraid you're sick. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you might have a flu. You might have it, all kinds of things. So what, just because you got this vaccine or that, well, I can assume that you're sick or something, you know? So what does that mean? That, everybody's supposed to walk around here now, and that's what you're putting this fear in people. Absolutely. That other people that you don't know are carriers and are sick. You know?
Good point.
Yeah.
Once again, a seed was sown.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But we just talked about how one of the senators who's fully vaccinated.
Yep.
So he can walk in on the View. He's fully vaccinated, but he's a courier.
Exactly.
And then everybody on the View has it. He's not up there with his mask on, and he's a courier because he's fully vaccinated. And then, like you said, if you haven't had this particular virus injected into you, aren't you now a courier of that virus?
Yeah.
Isn't it injected into you?
This is why I say this is what's supposed to be different about these injections, is that they don't put the live virus in you. They don't put the virus, whatever. They're saying that they put in this mRNA that gives you this protein, this spike protein that gives your immunity system a chance to fight it, because they've given you the dead virus that your mRNA is going to learn how to fight. Yep. This is what they're saying. Sense. Right. It don't make no sense because people are still catching it. Right. So it ain't working.
Yeah.
So now, so with that having been said, and I've been kind of monitoring. Okay, so now you have a lot of people out here who are HIV infected, which means that a person has HIV. That means their immune system is compromised, which means that their T cell level is low enough to where they can get an AIDS they can be AIDS compromised. The system is fully compromised now because their diagnosis drops below 200 T cell count, right?
Right.
So with a compromised immune system, right? How can you inject that into a person who has not enough red blood cells to fight it?
Exactly.
So we have more people with AIDS that's still out here, right? Regardless of how much medicines they say is curable or whatever, it's still out here. Last we checked, they didn't have a cure for it. So let's assume there's no cure for it. This person has not enough enough immunity to fight off this virus. How are these people still living?
Right. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying.
Because you would think a person with a compromised immune system, once they got sick with COVID or even get the shot,
cold.
How are they going to fight it?
If their immune system is compromised, they can catch a cold and it'll take them out of here.
Yeah.
So it's like we said again, it don't make sense. It don't make sense.
You know when it makes sense is when they start talking about okay, now we're going to start getting digital platforms, which they already put that COVID stuff on everybody's phone, right? So now we're getting ready to have a digital platform, and Google and Apple and all these people are coming there. Yeah, I know y'all agreeing on it because this is what y'all want to happen. And then you come up with your little silly card that everybody knows that you can forge and copy with everything now. So then you're going to say, yeah, all these people are faking it. They really ain't whatever, and they're faking the card. So we're going to really need to go to a system in which we can detect the frauds. That's all it is. You know, your goal is to get to where you can digitally track and ID people. That's what it's about. You see? It ain't got nothing to do with no daggone, no virus and no plague, you know, and they'll tell you that it's not. But now that's why they're trying to bully everybody into taking it. You know?
And that's exactly what it is. It's a bully tactic. It's
absolutely.
Debo. They acting like Debo. And like I said, you know, it's funny just watching when you do watch media. And that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. All the talking points, even with the. Are you showing Don Lemon his?
Yeah, let's get him. Let's get him right now.
I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people are not going to agree with this, but don't get the vaccine, you can't go to the supermarket. Don't have the vaccine, you don't show it, can't go to the ball game. Don't have the vaccine, can't go to work. You don't have the vaccine, can't come here. No shirt, no shoes, no service. That's where I think we should be right now, because we continue to waste our breath on people who are just not going to change. They're, you know, the circular logic. They just keep going back and saying, well, it's my freedom, it's whatever. I'm free. Well, your kid's not free to give other kids meningitis in schools. You got to take a vaccine to do that. You got to take vaccines in order to be employed. So what is the big deal? And all these people were saying, I don't want to put this stuff in my body. They're out drinking on the weekend and putting other substances in their bodies. That's way worse for them than a vaccine. So come on, let's be real.
Yeah, look, there are people who have health exceptions. I think they're the very pronounced minority.
All right, so we see. Now, what does he sit up here saying? He says the most egregious of it all. He says you can't even go to the grocery store. Now, if that is not trying to bully somebody, you know what? Now you can't even go get you no food to go out and get nothing to eat. You know, this is how, you know, and he sits here, you know, being an open homosexual, you know, and gonna run his mouth about what people should or should not accept. You know what I mean? And when you're sitting here, you know, we know that among the highest people to catch AIDS and have autoimmune whatever is the homosexual. You know? So should we now start tagging y'all and saying you might be sick?
Right.
I don't want to be around you. You might be sick. You know, you shouldn't go. If you're a homosexual, you shouldn't be able to go to the grocery store. You shouldn't be able to do any of that, right?
We already know they're spiritually sick if they're dealing in their lifestyle.
Exactly. But now you see these people, you see who they really are. And they're starting to come out. We want our way, and you either do it our way or else. We don't want you to even be able to go out here. You shouldn't go to the grocery store. You shouldn't be able to go nowhere. Right?
Who says that? Who says that?
Yeah. And then he sits there and says he compares taking a vaccine to drinking. Guess what? You know, first of all, if drinking is so bad, you know, why are y'all sitting here trying to compare it? You know what I mean?
Right.
If drinking is so bad, why are y'all trying to compare it to something in which they won't be liable for it? Right?
There you go.
These people they have got it where they can't be liable. If it's so safe, if this vaccine is so safe, why come they make you sign consent forms to the point that they don't want no liability? The business won't be liable for forcing you to do it. The government won't be liable, nor will the pharmaceutical companies, right? Now, you go out here and you drink and drive and you hurt somebody, you are going to get sued civilly. But now you got, you know, you go in here and you look at this stuff, and one of the side effects that they'll put in here is possible of death. Death. You see what I'm saying?
But they're not telling you that.
Yeah, they won't tell you that. He's like, it can whatever, you know, and then they're hiding anybody who's died from this, anybody who's harmed for this, all of this stuff that's out here, but y'all hiding it, y'all won't talk about it, and yet you sit up here, you know, with your ignorant self and try to downplay that as if is safe and effective. If it's so safe and effective, then put y'all's name on the line.
Yeah,
that if something happens, then you will be liable. You will be able to be sued for civil damages. Period.
Yeah, well, we know
Just
they're
like
not
they're
going to do that.
Just like they're doing, if you notice, they're doing it with talcum powder and asbestos. If you work in the mill yard, if you use, you know, because black women have known to use talcum powder growing up. So now they're saying that that's linked to certain cancers. So if you're making them people be liable for those products, for asbestos and talcum powder and the cancers in which that causes, why won't you put your name on the line for this vaccine?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
If it's you know, but anytime they give away anything free, you got to question it anyway. When is this country giving away anything free?
Exactly.
When do they give away anything? They throw away food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Grocery stores throw away food before they give it to a home. You got homes out here just sitting and dilapidated, and you got people homeless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, but you're not talking about things that make common sense. We're talking common sense here. So you're gonna convince me that this thing that you want to give away for free, right? That it's safe? Nah.
Exactly. And like somebody said, I seen somebody say it made a good point. They make you pay for masks.
Yeah.
They make you pay for masks. You know, but y'all gonna give this stuff away for free. But you gotta pay for a mask, but you're gonna give somebody a shot, an injection, and all this type of stuff, and you give that away for free. Really?
Yep.
Come on.
Don't make sense.
Come on.
Yeah, don't make sense.
But they want to shame people who say, you know, and not, like I said, if a person's got, I know people have gotten it. Okay, you've gotten your shot. You know, my whole thing is no longer live in fear from this point on.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Start doing your research before now it's really become, like we talked about before, be conditioning for the mark of the beast. No, it's not the mark of the beast, but it's conditioned. Who's willing to compromise when we threaten the food, when we threaten the jobs, when we threaten the money, when we threaten your livelihood, you know, we threaten you getting back to normal, man. Things have never been normal since, I mean, we go back to even further, but more recent, we go back to 9/11. Things have never been the same. And when can you just walk and carry bag? I mean, traveling before 9/11, you take as many bags, whatever. You don't have no problem traveling. You know what I mean? You can almost get to the airport right before your plane about to take off and catch your flight. Now, what you get? So it's never.
But because what they do, fear. But because of those people with box cutters got on here and all this nonsense, and they went on here and now it's fear. So we got to make sure that you ain't got box cutters and all this type of stuff. Right. So you after that, everybody was a suspect of trying to hijack a plane. You know, as ridiculous as that is. Everybody became a suspect, just like now, as ridiculous as it is, everybody is a suspect of being sick. You know? It's ridiculous. Right. You know? Let's go get this. Let's go get your vice president. And, you know, now she wants to get super spiritual. She's a preacher now.
Yeah, I just hear her. Yeah, exactly.
Ditzy.
If you have not yet been vaccinated, you know, some people said, I'm going to wait. I want to wait and see how this all turns out, how everybody else is doing with it, right? So I'm going to give it 6 months. It's July. It's time. It's time. So it is time, and it is time to roll up your sleeves and get the shot. And if you already have, find someone who hasn't and help them. And talk to them as we are having this conversation now. Born out of love, born out of concern, and born out of knowledge, again, that it will save lives. You know, a couple weeks ago, I was down in Atlanta at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And it was good to be back there. And the church, of course, you all know this is the church where Dr. King preached. Until the day he died. And today, it is a place of worship, but as most places of worship, also a place of healing. It is a vaccination site. Then and now, a place of healing. And when I was there, I talked with a bunch of folks, and in particular, I met with a bunch of folks who had just been vaccinated, and the healthcare workers who administered the vaccines. And I said then, what I will repeat today, I do believe that the act of getting vaccinated is the very essence of what the Bible tells us when it says, love thy neighbor. right? Because what we know is, one can ask, well, who is one's neighbor? Is it the person who lives to my left, lives to my right? I know them, may borrow a cup of sugar, right? But what we know it means when we talk about love thy neighbor is that, yes, it may be the person next door, and it may be the man on the side of the road, and it may be a perfect stranger. And in the face of that stranger, you see a friend. That's what this is about. And so by getting vaccinated, you are loving your neighbor.
Go in here, stand in the church. The church is whatever. What about Psalm 91? We just read it. But here's the deal. You want to talk about Dr. King and whatever. The government killed Dr. King.
Right.
You forget about that?
Right.
The government, the family got a civil suit against the government, you know what I'm saying, for his murder.
Right.
You know? But y'all want to go in here and talk all this stuff. Yeah, I'm down in Ebenezer and da-da-da-da-da. And you talking about loving your neighbor. Okay, well, if you love your neighbor, you know, the Bible says that mankind shall not lie with mankind as with womankind. You see what I'm saying? So the bottom line, why, if you love your neighbor, why aren't you telling them that, you know what you're doing is a sin? If you love your neighbor, why aren't you telling them that Jesus, that same Bible says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. If you love your neighbor, why ain't you telling, you see what I'm saying, all these Muslims that you're wrong, all these Hare Krishnas, all these Buddhists, all these, even your Jewish husband, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, why ain't you telling him, if you love him, why ain't you telling him Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life? Why ain't you saying that? Since you know what the Bible says, you like to quote the Bible, you see? But now you see how these politicians do. They go in here and they try to use this. Oh, well, let me all of a sudden become a Christian and let me just go in here and say, you know, love your neighbor. And you take the scripture out of context and use it for your own agenda, right?
Yeah. And the sad thing is, the church is falling for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because you didn't hear one pastor, the corrector.
Yeah.
And she sat down and said that as comfortable as she was sitting there in her press conference. She said it in the church, and she said she talked to people. So who were you talking to? The congregation.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the people that's all in agreement with.
These politicians show you what they think about you. They think that the general public is dumb as rocks. That you're gonna stand up here, Joe Biden will stand up here, whoever it is, and that people can't see what you're doing with the fear mongering. And I don't care how soft your voice is. Oh yes, and all that nonsense that she does.
Yeah, the pretty girl. The pretty girl. I'm harmless. And
all you're doing, once again, just like all the videos you showed, is they're basically, like we said, it's a fear campaign, and they're trying to throw people into fear, and then on the back end, trying to shame people that haven't taken the vaccine to throw them into fear and condemnation. Because you haven't taken the vaccine, you're not a good person.
Yeah, exactly. You don't love your neighbor, and you're supposed to be a Christian. You know. And when we just read, as a Christian, you're supposed to, you know, that plague is for the wicked. That plague is not for me. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be afraid. You see what I'm saying? But that plague ain't coming near me. Right?
But it's just amazing, man, how they I mean, like we talked about for years, they do these things over and over and over and over again. Just like Leroy mentioned earlier about 9/11. Same propaganda.
Same thing. Put fear.
Putting people into fear. Into fear.
And then use that fear to go over here and bomb and kill innocent women and children. The same people want to save humanity all of a sudden, and y'all don't have no problem as soon as you get mad to go over here and drop bombs on people.
Patriotism.
Says the Bible says thou shalt not kill, so who gives you the power to kill?
Exactly.
Patriotism. Patriotism. That's right. That's right. Them box cutter people. And the Bible
also says thou shalt not bear false witness. So why aren't you telling these people that, you know, this could potentially kill you? You take this vaccine.
Or abortion. Let's go there. How about that?
Oh, they really don't talk about that.
Right.
Exactly. You want to shame people? Why don't you do that? Shame that. You know.
But
my body, my choice, right?
Exactly. So how can so you get a choice on that, but don't get a choice as to whether you get vaccinated or not.
Right. Exactly.
Come on, man.
You're a bad person. You're a bad person.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Don't you think that innocent child in the womb, you think he thinks you're a nice person when you're yanking him out of his mother's womb?
He's just a clump of cells. What are you saying? He ain't even a real person yet.
Yeah.
Then they use anything to justify their nonsense.
Exactly.
No, all we doing is pointing to the common sense involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's common sense. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You villainize one thing, but make one thing over here okay. The murder's okay.
Yeah. And that's essentially what they're saying. And they hate to hear that, but that's what you're saying. When you're talking that my body, my choice nonsense, you're talking about murdering a child.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you're talking about. Murdering a child in the womb.
Yep. Yeah. And what side of the fence does she stand on that?
Right.
You know, you got a lot of nerve. You got
Yeah.
a lot of nerve bringing up the Bible, woman. You need to keep your mouth off the Bible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And look, and more importantly, I mean, she didn't say nothing about Hollywood, and that promotes more murder, more chaos, and more anything. So you stand up against Hollywood and tell them to change the programming.
Yep.
So how do you say so love? If you love somebody, you don't want to see nobody out here doing that.
Right. Exactly.
But yet still, you know, we're nothing but super predators.
Yep. Exactly.
Moving right along.
Yeah. And like I say, one more thing, let's take another shot at it. Yeah, if you love somebody, you would have tried to get them guys out of jail when you knew that they was falsely in prison.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, when Tulsi Gabbard called you out. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Right. Did you love people back then when you was the attorney general out there in California? You know what I'm saying?
She thought it was funny.
Exactly. Yeah. You know. All right, let's go get these last three scriptures.
Luke 21, verses 25 and 26. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves run, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Right? Okay? So we see in these latter times, right? People starting to get fearful. That's why they got you all in fear, right? Gonna be a whole lot of that.
And with fear, like we talk about, comes the compromise.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
what are you willing to give up?
Yep. And that's, you know, we talk about that all the time too. That's a lot of these people's default setting. It's compromise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want no smoke. I don't want no troubles.
Absolutely. Yep.
Luke chapter 12. We're gonna pick it up in verses 4 and 5. Verse 4. And I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body. After that have no more that they can do. But will forewarn you of whom ye shall fear. Fear him which after he hath killed have power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him.
All right. So you sure told us, but I will forewarn you whom you shall fear. You better fear the Father. Yeah. All right, see, so that's that reverential fear that we was talking about, right? Because at the end of the day, when you fear the Most High, like you said, and the one thing that we covered and we read, you know, beware lest there be an evil heart of unbelief in you. You fear the Most High, you better not be running around here in unbelief. Right. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and he told you, you know, matter of fact, I'm gonna close after this. We're gonna do Proverbs 9 and 10, then I'm gonna get that scripture, you know, the first two that get thrown into the lake of fire, right? Because I almost left that one out. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go hit Proverbs 9 and 10.
Proverbs 9, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding.
All right. So when we talk about all that common sense, right? Ain't no common sense if you don't fear the Lord. You don't fear the Most High. Because at the end of the day, you're going to die, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if he tells you don't be fearful, and if he tells you not to be unbelieving, then the fear of the Most High is the beginning of wisdom and understanding, because you know not to be fearful, right? You know not to be unbelieving. You know not to fear what these people will do to you, where they talking about, oh, we're not going to let you go to the grocery store. We're not going to let you, you know, because he already told us that y'all was going to try to put a mark in us and tell us that we ain't going to be able to buy or sell. He already told us that.
Yep.
We already know what you up to, you know? We see where you're going with this. Y'all think people are stupid, you know?
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
And we already know once you decided to follow Christ that the persecution was going to come.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what are you afraid of? Wasn't Christ,
Right.
didn't Christ, what did he say, when you come follow me, you're gonna pick up, bear your cross?
Yeah.
Yep.
Didn't you say you're gonna be persecuted? Say they hated me before they hated you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's with all this fear factor now? Now everybody's
Exactly.
fearful. Like I said, you have some people out here, they wholeheartedly believe in science. You know what I mean? I get it. You believe in science, and that's your thing, and you believe everything they're telling you, so be it. But we're talking about those who say they're believers, but have gotten a shot, or falling for this whole propaganda, this whole thing. You're falling for due to fear. Fear to get back to normal. We haven't been normal, man. We haven't been normal in quite some time now.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So,
and they ain't going to let you go back to normal. They're not going to let you go back to normal with this. This is an agenda, right?
Yeah.
They're pushing forth an agenda in which they're trying to get a digital tracking system and gradually get people conditioned to where they're ready to receive a digital tracking system, and then they're going to go into a digital currency. They already got digital dollar. They're already trying to condition you with these cryptocurrencies and all this type of stuff. And now the bottom line is they're going to control you through not just the same way that they're starting to push you around now, and they're going to control you by saying you either do what we say to do or else you're not going to be able to buy or sell. Right? They're already showing you their mentality.
And it's funny how history repeats itself. Wasn't that long ago where there was segregation, where you couldn't go. Pretty much you couldn't go where you wanted to because of the color of your skin. Now it's what's in your skin. Whether you can go and come and buy, sell, and
the same rhetoric is being used.
Yep.
There's the same thing. Same thing with the racism back in the day and all that type of stuff. They're using the same rhetoric.
Yep.
Same exact rhetoric.
But make you fearful of somebody else so that you will behave, you know what I mean, unjustly towards this person. You know? They're demonizing people so that the other people will start, you know what I mean, will start being willing to see destruction, death, anything else to these people, because you're going to discriminate against them because you fear them, right?
Right. And that's the same, like we talk about with the racists. So that's the same fear campaign they ran back in the day on white folks.
Yep.
And we even hear it today when they tell us, when they talking about these people coming over the border, oh yeah, they're gonna take your jobs, y'all already poor, y'all ain't gonna have nothing. It's all the same rhetoric over and over and over again. And over again.
And think about it. And think about it. Even with them talking about the immigrants, I'm glad you brought that up. Well, are y'all vaccinating them when they come across the border?
Of course not.
You know, you so worried about it, but are you standing there with vaccines, putting them in their arms and all that? You know,
and look, will that be part of your the propaganda to say, hey, well, we'll make you citizens if you do get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So then all of the terrorism and all of the things where you say you wanted to close the border, now you won't open it up because they're vaccinated.
Yeah. You know, regardless, you know what I mean. Nothing they say.
Common sense.
Nothing they say makes sense. Nothing, right? It's all agenda in which they're just trying to bring in division, and basically so that they can get more control. Order out of chaos.
Yep.
Right? All right. Let's close it. Let's close with Revelation 21:8.
Revelation 21, chapter 21. We'll pick it up in verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Okay, so we see.
It's funny how that fearful and unbelieving is always right next to each other.
Yep, the very first two. The first two, most people would think it would be the whoremongers, the idolaters, and all this type of stuff. But he's made it clear, the very first two in there is the fearful and the unbelieving. The fearful and the unbelieving. Because everything else goes off of that. Your murderers, your adulterers, your whoremongers, your liars, all of that stuff comes off of you being fearful and unbelieving.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Period.
Yep.
All right? Good deal. When you realize faith, you know, is you believing and trusting in what God says and believing that it's going to come to pass, right? What's the word for I can't think right now. What's the word for what's the other word for this is kind of
already.
yeah. But that's our next scripture. As we segue into our next scripture, you know, we're gonna go Hebrews chapter 2, verses 14 through 15.
Hey, real quick before we do that, I'm just gonna give I'm gonna give a definition of what fear is.
Okay, very good.
So it's if we take the noun.
Wait a minute. This guy just got gritting on me. Just butt yours. Nah, go ahead. Whoa, that's not a good cut. Where did Genie join the Brock? Wait a minute. Oh, if it would have been a bunch of midgets in there, they'd have went in there and whooped up on them, right? Because they thought they could whoop them anyway, you know? But the fact that God's like gonna put a big adversary in front of you, now you like, now you sitting there like, now you don't want no smoke.
Little people, that was so politically incorrect. Little people.
You trying to put me in fear from what the world? Am I gonna have to get Leroy to define midget? You know,
have to look
you want me? Yeah. I don't have to be spiritually. I don't have to be politically correct. I'm not afraid of these people.
Call Leroy Webster.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gonna define it. The little people.
Yeah.
Little people. Just calling them midgets and dwarfs. I mean, just good grief.
I didn't call a dwarf. You just said dwarf.
Oh.
Yeah, you just called him a dwarf. I guess you need to learn some political correctness too, big mouth.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, let's move on. And you know what? I'm glad you just said that. You know, let's go to Hebrews chapter. I think it's Hebrews chapter.
That was
3.
What I said.
Hebrews
that
3.
was a nice segue, wasn't it?
Let's go. Well, let's out of here.
Oh man,
that's right. That's right. I ain't forget.